Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH The Flame Emperor Part 10 based on novel. So let's start. This ice day is really worse than a beast. Even his own brothers and sect disciples were all devoured. It is as abominable as the Soul Clan on the Dochi continent. As expected, moths can be found everywhere. Xiao Yan looked at the black Dochi surrounding him. Ice sky, the atmosphere said. If a person has no emotions, it is no different from wild monsters with low intelligence. The difference between humans and low intelligence monsters is that they have emotions. Xiao Yan couldn't help clenching his fists. This kind of person really deserves to be executed by everyone. The Golden Dragon King silently watched Xiao Yan's every move, and nodded with satisfaction, or she really did not see the wrong person. Then he muttered to himself, a blood sacrifice? This sin really penetrated deep enough. It seems that there should be some problems with this so-called Solomon. The battle has reached the white-hot stage. Being able to force me to do this is not worth the name of your bloodthirsty dragon lizard. Bing Qian was covered in black aura, which made him look very strange, and then he roared. Bing Qian roared with awe-inspiring murderous intent. The sound of thunder rolled endlessly over the cave, causing the entire cave to be silent for a moment, and one after another, with some horrified beast eyes, shot in the direction from which the sound came. This roar naturally also spread to the bloodthirsty dragon lizard above the cave. At the moment, all the beasts made a sound of shock and stopped. They all knew that this was between the two powerhouses. During the battle, his eyes looked in the direction of the voice, and finally stopped in the direction of Bing Qian. It seems that you Solomon have coveted my blood for a long time. The dragon lizard also thought coldly. The dragon breath of the dragon lizard and the attack of the ice sky are brewing sooner rather than later. They all know that there is no need to hide and tuck the battle until now. The last blow can decide the winner or loser. I saw that the scarlet protective film covered by the bloodthirsty dragon lizard was particularly eye-catching. It perfectly covered the entire body of the dragon like heaven, and the temperature of the dragon's mouth was also swallowed by the ice sky. When it was completed, it became more and more hot, and the space was slightly broken. In this bloodthirsty form, the dragon's breath is so terrifying. The terrifying dragon breath spit out from the bloodthirsty dragon's mouth, attacking towards the ice sky. The terrifying dragon breath contains the power of destruction. Ordinary 4-star Do-D powerhouses will be severely injured by the scorching heat even if they touch a little bit. Bing Qian's black vindictive energy instantly formed a jet-black beam of strange light in front of him. The sound of mourning could not be heard in the beam of light. Many arms stretched out around the beam of light, breathing out at the dragon's dragon. Resist? After this, Bing Qian devoured everyone in the group. His power skyrocketed so terrifyingly, and now the extremely confident Bing Qian also intends to resist the dragon's breath. This Bing Qian is really arrogant, but he has arrogant capital. Xiao Yan also secretly exclaimed. However, according to the current battle, the bloodthirsty dragon is also in a violent form, and the last bloodthirsty talent is also used. On the other hand, where Bing Qian is, all the people of Solomon on this trip were devoured by him alone, although the strength has soared, breaking through the limitations of this different space. However, the limitation of this space only restricts the powerhouses above the 4-star Do Emperor from being able to enter and exit easily, but if they break through to the 4-star Do Emperor in this space, it will be different. But the most important thing is that they are all working hard, and then they die from exhaustion. Yueru, listen to my instructions and wait for an opportunity later. Xiao Yan also tilted his head and said quietly. Little Yanzi, don't worry, I feel a few breaths coming here, like someone who has fought with you before. The Golden Dragon King not only watched the fight in the cave, but also kept his attention scattered all the time. Space, and then said to Xiao Yang who was staring at the cave. Huh? Xiao Yang was also depressed. Now there is no time to take care of other things, first get the magic core, then he is more and more careful to hide. The bloodthirsty dragon's breath is indeed powerful enough to rival a 5-star Do-D powerhouse. Even if Bing Qian devoured the skyrocketing power of many colleagues, it was quite difficult to deal with. Boom boom boom. The dragon's breath and the icy black beam of light were viciously mixed together. Two dazzling beams of light confront each other. It's not that it's difficult to use your own power after all, right? The bloodthirsty dragon also shouted loudly, and the crooked way was still inferior. Suddenly, before the dragon's words were finished, the terrifying dragon breath instantly drowned the black beam of light emanating from Bingtian. The place where Bingtian was originally was attacked by the breath of the dragon, and with Bingtian as the center, a circle of hot and terrifying ripples rippled out. This ice sky actually went wrong on the way. Directly killed by the dragon breath, the strongest attack of the demon dragon? The twists and turns of the plot obviously made the bloodthirsty dragon relax. Humph! Isn't our dragon race comparable to you humans with low bloodline? It's really not a pity to die. Although the dragon said so, he spit out a few mouthfuls of dragon breath in a row to prevent any changes. Boom boom boom. The magic dragon also fell away at that instant, smashing to the ground ruthlessly. Obviously, the dragon's breath and bloodthirsty talents consume a lot of the power and even the vitality of the dragon, but it is not worth the loss if the life is saved. The dragon's eyes closed slightly at this time. It was weak, and now it can be easily killed by even a human being of a 2-star fighting emperor. Phut! A dragon-headed crutch was silently inserted into the dying bloodthirsty dragon's head. It's over now. Jiang is still old and hot. The Bingtian who had disappeared suddenly appeared, with a tattered figure and some black blood, and the whole person looked even more ferocious. When the bloodthirsty dragon fell, the protective film covering the body surface was automatically released. It was not the time. The main reason was that the bloodthirsty dragon was too weak, and maintaining this bloodthirsty form was extremely consuming. Vitality. But the magic dragon obviously underestimated the cunning of human beings. Until the dragon head crutches struck fatally, the magic dragon's pupils were still wide open, as if he didn't believe that Bingtian could survive under his own dragon's breath. I can't bear the child and can't catch the wolf. Bingtian also responded to the last question of the dragon, and then began to collect the blood and core of the dragon. Just when Bingtian was just about to deal with the dragon, a wave of blue and silver alternated, as if the fierce fighting spirit formed by the fusion of strong wind and thunder, also shot out along a section of silk and satin, and finally collided with Bingtian fiercely. Bingtian, I didn't expect me to find you here, go to hell. The girl in the colorful dress said to the hideous Bingtian in front of her. The city lord of their Fenglei city, Feng Yi's father, lost an arm and a leg because of the unprovoked pursuit of Solomon's elders. This has always been a shame to their Fenglei city. Moreover, her father loves Feng Yi the most, and Feng Yi swears that she will never share the sky with Solomon in this life. Bingtian just ended a war, and now is the time of weakness. Seeing the girl in the colorful dress in front of her and the people around her, she couldn't help but say in despair. 5 3-star fighting emperors. Ha ha ha. It's actually the remnant of the Fenglei family. If it wasn't for your father who desperately protected you, you might look different now. Bingtian also looked greedily at the girl in the colorful dress named Feng Yi. Today is your day of death. Feng Yi said plainly, but anyone could see the frenzy in his eyes. Finally, I'm finally going to kill the enemy. Father, I will report your shame. Feng Yi roared in his heart. The entourage who was in charge of protecting the young lady saw that the young lady was emotionally disturbed, and hurriedly tried to stop the young lady, but found a dark figure attacking Feng Yi. I can't live, but none of you want to live. Ha ha ha. Bingtian quickly approached Feng Yi. Looking at the icy sky that was rushing towards him, his body was rapidly expanding, and his body was exuding thick black air. Obviously he wanted to die with Feng Yi. Although the girl in the colorful dress was a little excited, she still did not lose her sense of reason. Seeing Bingtian whistling towards her, her body was covered in black energy and she couldn't help frowning slightly, biting her lips lightly. Even in Bingtian, who was seriously injured now, the girl in the colorful skirt felt a terrifying aura from the black energy. Feng Yi's feet suddenly moved, and her figure quickly swept into the sky. At the same time, her palms were spread out, and in her palms, a trace of silver space power flashed out. Space blockade. The girl in the colorful dress just let out a soft shout, and the space around Bingtian suddenly fluctuated violently. Immediately, the invisible space seemed to have become substance, turning into a space prison, wrapping Bingtian in. Condensing such a real space prison is difficult for even the ordinary 4-star Do D, but Feng Yi, a girl in a colorful skirt, is able to use the tyrannical power of the wind and thunder attributes to display it. Out. Of course, the most important thing in this is that the wind and thunder attributes originally have a bit of space power, and using this as a medium, she was able to mobilize the space power that is free between heaven and earth. Moreover, the battle between Bingtian and the bloodthirsty dragon seems to be an understatement, but it is also seriously injured. Although he devoured all the Solomon people in the same way to supplement himself, he still underestimated the bloodthirsty dragon. Although he defeated the dragon in the end, in fact the last blow of the magic dragon was abruptly and severely injured Bingtian. Bingtian, who was seriously injured, saw Feng Yi, a girl in a colorful skirt, and several of his followers, for 3-star fighting emperors. He knew that this time it was going to be damaged here, but he was not reconciled, and he had to drag them to bury them when he died, so there was this scene. The space prison has just taken shape. That Bingtian's body suddenly swelled to a terrifying level, and immediately, a shocking explosion appeared. Bang! The terrifying black energy air waves, like waves in the sea, swept away in all directions crazily. On the other side, Xiao Yan just saw that Bingtian's self-destruction, and his soul force spewed out. He walked towards the body of the demon dragon, covering the entire body in a blink of an eye, as if it disappeared and didn't exist in the first place. Notice all this. Fortunately, I caught up, otherwise this terrifying self-destruction will shed its skin even if it doesn't die. The girl in the colorful skirt also said to a few followers. After resisting for a while, the space prison burst open directly. As a result, the mountain range in the cave that was originally occupied by the bloodthirsty dragon trembled violently as if it had been shaken. Huge cracks spread out like spider webs, and the beasts enslaved by the bloodthirsty dragons in the entire mountain range fell into a panic at this moment. The self-destruction, that power, is extremely terrifying. Facing such a terrifying energy storm, Feng Yi, the girl in colorful skirts, could only avoid the edge for a while, and their bodies flickered, appearing directly above the distant sky, staring solemnly at the raging energy below. Lang, being so engaged by Bingtian, almost this mountain range will be turned into ruins. In the distance beyond the mountain range, the red Do Chi roared out like a cloud of fire, and on the cloud of fire, a slender figure stood with his hands behind his back, looking contemptuous. He ignored the many people who went to the main hall, just turned his eyes, and cast towards the place where the bloodthirsty dragon was. Apparently, this arrogant son of Wucheng also sensed this terrifying energy storm. His face changed at the moment. The two old guys Bingtian and Bingwu actually blew themselves up. To be able to force him to this stage, that character is really terrible. Wu Huan suddenly felt a bit bitter in his mouth. The two old men of Bingtian and Bingwu, he himself knows his strength, and he can be regarded as a true pride of heaven if he can force them all. Wu Huan is also very clear, and he is not an indecisive person, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes at the moment. Remembering that the so-called Xiao Yang also went in that direction, he couldn't help saying to himself, this Xiao Yang is indeed very strange, even if you are an imperial alchemist, but if you kill Bingwu and Bingtian it doesn't mean that you will feel better. Solomon will never sit by and watch an elder get killed. Then, he. With a gloomy smile, Wu Huan turned his head decisively, waved his hand, and went to the main hall, speeding up again. Somewhere in the mountains. Among the three attendants of the girl in the colorful skirt, an old man in white was also startled by Bingtian's crazy actions, and immediately hurriedly carried Feng Yi, shuttled through the forest like lightning, and finally his body flashed, landing on the top of a mountain peak. Looking down at the energy storm raging in the mountains, Tilda could not help but take a breath. This old guy is really crazy. Feng Yi was also frightened by the destructive energy below, making her pretty face a little pale. Not everyone can see the self-destruction of a Do D powerhouse. To be able to force a Do D powerhouse to the point of self-destruction, this bloodthirsty dragon is well deserved, and it is really scary. The white-clothed old man slowly raised his head and looked at the road above the distant sky. The blurred figure that has fallen, said with some sighs. But it's strange. The body of the demon dragon was clearly still here just now. Why didn't I find it? It should have disappeared because of his self-destruction. It's a pity, but forget about it, let's focus on creation first. Let's go, miss, his self-destruction won't even have his soul left, we should go to the main hall. The old man in white said after feeling it. Go? The girl in the colorful skirt also left quickly. Is she all right? Xiao Yan also swept across the sky, but his eyesight was far less than that of his master, so naturally he could not see Feng Yi. What can she do? That hand space blockade directly killed Bingtian's thought of pulling her to death. The Golden Dragon King smiled and shook his head, then said, but she killed Bingtian. I am afraid that it is a real bad relationship with Solomon, and with Solomon's behavior, he will definitely send strong people to surround and kill him. The raging energy storm in the mountains lasted for about 10 minutes before gradually weakening. During this time, Xiao Yang and Yueru also retreated. This level of self-destruction, the scope of the impact is too large, and the size of the body is too large. It still stayed on the sky, and its eyes were gradually closed. But fortunately, the soul power is strong enough, and the two of them have not been discovered by the girl in the colorful skirt before. The woof wind blew through the mountains, bringing up yellow dust. The lush green forest and the cave of the bloodthirsty dragon had turned into a piece of mud at this moment. When the last trace of the energy storm slowly dissipated, Xiao Yang and Yu in the sky just opened their eyes, and their eyes slowly swept across the extremely messy mountain range below, and finally fell gently and walked slowly. Going to the place where Bingtian blew up, there was a huge crater several tens of meters in size, and at a glance it was impossible to see the bottom. His eyes swept across the pothole. Xiao Yang's footsteps suddenly came to the giant pit, where there was a slight inconspicuous light. Fortunately, I brought a turtle breath pill with me when I came out. This kind of self-destruction can deceive the remnants of the Feng Lei family. This time I will go back and clean up this Feng Lei family. Even a small Feng Lei family wants to compete with our Solomon. It's just over their own capabilities. There were bursts of voices in the weak rays of light. I'm sorry you may not have this chance. Xiao Yang also appeared at the location of the light like a ghost. The palm of his hand touched the light slowly. A sneer suddenly appeared on the corner of Xiao Yang's mouth. Terrifying flames blasted out fiercely, the ground burst open, the wood chips flew, and an illusory soul escaped in panic, and finally flew towards the sky. Go, and then start to move, the surrounding space is suddenly solidified. Elder Bingtian has a good plan, his body exploded, relying on the special effect of the medicinal pill, trace of soul escaped, but it's a pity. Xiao Yang looked at this illusory soul with a smile and said softly. Xiao Yang, don't kill me, we can have a good talk, you don't want to offend a Solomon just like that, right? The soul was trapped, and immediately turned into Bingtian's illusory face. At this moment, there was a real sense in his eyes. Fear, if this trace of soul is destroyed by Xiao Yang again, he will really be finished. I don't want to go to this stage either, but someone who doesn't even let off his own brothers. It's really not as good as a beast. Xiao Yang sighed softly, stretched out his palm, and immediately held Bingtian's soul. Xiao Zong, Solomon won't let you go, just wait to die. Feeling Xiao Yang's killing intent, Bingtian cursed bitterly. Bang! Xiao Yang's face was expressionless, and when he squeezed his palm, Bingtian's soul burst open, and immediately turned into a spot of light, which disappeared. Looking at the dissipated soul spots, Xiao Yang knew that Bingtian, the elder of Solomon, had said goodbye to this world completely. Careful mind. No retreat to the enemy. Very good. The Golden Dragon King couldn't help but say. In a faraway place, in a quiet wooden house, among the hundreds of plaques, a plaque exploded. The old man on the side closed his eyes and slowly opened his eyes. There was a thick black in his eyes, giving people a strange feeling. How dare you kill me, Elder Solomon? Go on and investigate this person thoroughly. Yes? Sect Master. There was a strong anger in the old man's words, and before the words fell outside the door, someone took action. Yueru blinked suspiciously on the side. She did not see the scene where Xiao Yang destroyed Bingtian's soul, but she felt that her father, who had a high vision in the past, had an extremely high evaluation of Xiao Yan. A faint laughter suddenly sounded on the mountain peak, and Xiao Yang's figure slowly appeared in front of you. Are you Xiao Yan? Seeing Xiao Yan appear, Yueru immediately shouted with joy. The body of the bloodthirsty dragon is still there. You know where the preciousness of this beast mummified corpse is, right? Her eyes were fiery and introverted. Yu suddenly stared at the body of the demon dragon beside her, and said a little eagerly, apparently not realizing the little trick Xiao Yang had done just now to take advantage of the big explosion. Xiao Yang was obviously frightened by Yueru's question. Looking at the huge, but extremely stiff body of the bloodthirsty dragon in front of him, Xiao Yang also held it and felt it gently. Immediately, he waved lightly with the ancient eternal fire ruler behind him, and the somewhat rigid head of the dragon was like tofu, cracked out of thin air, and the fracture was as smooth as a mirror. A dazzling light flashed out. It's the magic core. That's great. Yu also smiled at Xiao Yang with great joy, and finally she didn't find out what she was worried about. I will be unhappy. However, Yueru is also concerned and confused. If it exceeds the 8th rank, that is, the magical beasts that are enough to rival the strong Dosheng, will definitely produce magic cores. Let's go, since the magic core is in hand, let's go to the main hall to have a look. Yu is also not greedy, since she has both the crescent moon Suegwa and the magic core Xiao Yang needs, then there is nothing worried. Wait, this bloodthirsty dragon has treasures all over its body. Xiao Yang also saw it, and took a closer look at this huge body. What sharp claws! The sharpness of this thing made Xiao Yang take a breath. Why are you looking at all this garbage? You don't think you have enough time to grab the great fortune? Just the blood of the dragon is useful. You refine these blood, I can feel that these blood contains the talent of bloodthirsty form, bloodthirsty, I want to rely on the refined blood to be able to display it. The Golden Dragon King also felt the atmosphere. Xiao Yang's head is covered with black lines, this bloodthirsty dragon is still the overlord of one side anyway, so many valuable things in blood and body, how can they become garbage when they reach the mouth of their master? But it's no wonder, considering the status of one's master, this kind of thing is really. Xiao Yang also saw the extraordinary blood from the bloodthirsty form of the bloodthirsty dragon just now, and immediately extracted the blood of the dragon. Breaking open the body of the demon dragon, aura rushed towards her face. Yueru's face was a little ugly, the scarlet color inside the demon dragon, as the calcination of the flame intensified, it became more and more intense, and at the end, it turned out to be completely condensed together. Immediately in Xiao Yang's surprised eyes, it turned into a drop of scarlet blood, penetrated along the surface of the flesh and blood, and finally passed through the flame and dripped down. Seeing the blood dripping down on the ground, Xiao Yang's eyes were quick. Quickly took out a jade bottle of quite good quality from the ring, and then put the drop of blue-red blood into it. After catching the scarlet blood, Xiao Yang breathed a sigh of relief. He raised his head and glanced at the burning milky white flame, and found that with the dripping of the blue-red blood, the piece of meat turned out to be directly calcined by the flame. In the middle, it turned into nothingness, and not even the ashes were left behind. Looking at the 7 drops of scarlet blood in the jade bottle that did not mix with each other, Xiao Yang had no choice but to shake his head. With a wave of his hand, he put away the flames in front of him, and then grinned and smiled at the jade bottle. In the collection ring, I didn't expect that the body of a demon dragon, which few people in Fengyi had not noticed, could be created by him. In Xiao Yang's opinion, the value of these 7 drops of scarlet blood would never be worth it. Weaker than the dragon, and even, in a way, stronger. This blood contains the extremely violent power of the magic dragon. This thing cannot be used indiscriminately, otherwise, it will definitely make him fall into the tragedy of body explosion, but this is nothing to Xiao Yang. The problem is that he is an alchemist himself, and he is quite reconciled with the violent factor in these energies. As long as he is given enough time, at that time, he will be able to absorb all the blood safely. Therefore, this time, Xiao Yang not only collected the demon core of the demon dragon, but also these 7 drops are enough to cast the bloodthirsty form protective film of the bloodthirsty demon dragon, which is comparable to the blood essence of the 5-star fighting emperor's all-out blow, and the harvest is quite satisfactory. Go to the main hall. Xiao Yan and Yueru turned into a shooting star, heading towards the great hall deep in the mountains. The complexity of this ruin was far beyond Xiao Yan's expectations. It was following behind Yueru, who had a map. The forest that was circling around accidentally provoked powerful monsters to attack, but fortunately, this feeling it lasted for about 10 minutes. The vision in front of him suddenly widened, and the figure rushed forward for a distance again, and a huge ancient hall finally appeared in the sight of everyone. The whole body of this hall is in the color of copper gray. The countless years have made this copper gray appear even more profound. The ancient atmosphere permeates from under every stone slab on the hall, making people feel that the vicissitudes of silence for countless years. Looking at the gray giant hall, Xiao Yan couldn't help but shook his head, and led Yueru to slowly drop to the 100 meters away. Since the emperor and strong man would build such a large ruin, he must have hidden it in it. It is also quite rich, and this trip is really worthwhile. Outside the grey giant hall at the moment, many strong people are coming continuously, but no one is the first to set foot in the 100-meter range. Those who can reach here at this time are either great forces or people with great abilities. Outside the hall, there are many mysterious runes flashing, looming as if forming a formation. These people outside the giant hall obviously also discovered the formation, and they are not in a hurry. Xiao Yan was naturally in no hurry. If there were no defensive measures for such a rich treasure, only a fool would believe it. While Xiao Yan folded his arms and waited in peace, he suddenly noticed that a cold gaze was projected. Immediately, he raised his brows and turned his gaze, and immediately condensed on the place where the cold gaze was projected. The owner of the cold eyes is a man dressed in gorgeous clothes, with a noble temperament between his eyebrows, which makes ordinary people dare not look directly at him, and his long flowing hair adds a bit of arrogance. Looking at this rather unfamiliar face, Yueru couldn't help but rub her fingers with Xiao Yan, but she didn't expect to see her here. This is the martial arts of Wucheng. Yueru whispered. Oh, is it the person who has the most potential to win the great fortune? Xiao Yan also frowned slightly. The late Samsung Do Di. He was actually 2 levels higher than himself. Don't look at this small second level, there is still an irreparable gap between the first level. The gap is very huge, even with Xiao Yang's current strength, it is a little difficult to deal with. Xiao Yang is from this so-called martial arts. There was a sense of danger in his body. But Xiao Yang was not afraid either, and immediately turned his head to look at the people beside Wu Huan. At Wu Huan's side, there were many people, including Feng Licheng and his group. At this moment, this group of people obviously found Xiao Yang and the others, and their eyes flashed with a cold color. If the eldest lady had not been following Xiao Yang all the time, she would never have met that Solomon person, causing the eldest lady to be emotionally unstable now. Obviously, the self-destruction of the strong Solomon should not be underestimated, so they resented Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang's eyes swept across the pedestrian, and then suddenly stopped beside Feng Yi. There was a white-haired man with a long body and brocade clothes. This white-haired man looked extremely handsome, with a smiling face which made him look extravagant, and at a glance, he knew that he was not an ordinary person. Yeah, is that the person you mentioned who was suspected of possessing the soul of the emperor? The white-haired man at this moment also glanced at Xiao Yang and smiled lightly. Well, and I can feel that the power of the soul is stronger than mine. Feng Yi gritted her silver teeth, rather unwilling. Their Feng Licheng has always been cultivating the fighting spirit of the wind and thunder attributes. In Feng Yi's generation, because Feng Yi is the only daughter of Feng Licheng, she is loved by the city owner. Feng Yi's soul strength has been surprisingly strong since childhood. A powerful 9th-rank pharmacist, so Feng Yi master cultivates soul power, and his fighting spirit is weaker. After finally coming out of Feng Lei City to the ruins, I saw Xiao Yang from the very beginning, so I had a strong interest in Xiao Yang. Even with Feng Yi's soul power, I could feel that Xiao Yang was also an alchemist. And the refining level is definitely not low. There are only a few pharmacists in Do Di continent. In addition, Feng Yi often practiced in Wind and Thunder City and rarely went out. Seeing Xiao Yang, his affection increased greatly, and he wanted to find a suitable opportunity to compete with Xiao Yang. This is what happened before. Is it possible that it is an alchemist of the imperial rank? After this time, if you are lucky, it is not impossible to break through to the alchemist of the imperial rank. The man in white smiled slightly and said softly. Feng Yi also nodded slightly, although Xiao Yang vaguely made Feng Yi quite interested, but he was obviously more interested in the creation in the main hall beside him. What is that? Xiao Yang also disapproved, and then turned his eyes away. Suddenly his eyes lit up, and then stared at the hundreds of people in the Grey Giant Hall. Several people who were originally staying outside the main hall could not help but be surprised when they saw this scene. Someone actually entered the formation in advance? Hundreds of people in the Grey Giant Hall were bombarded by the sky-filled fire dragon and the black wind with unparalleled power. It was not discovered by Xiao Yang and the others who were outside the formation, because they were desperately resisting the erosion of the formation. After they couldn't resist this formation, they appeared in everyone's sight. It was swallowed in an instant, and not even the soul was left. The one who rashly entered the formation was led by a strong player in the middle of the Samsung Do Di, and actually, this formation is so terrifying, those powerhouses in the middle stage of the 3-star Do Di were instantly swallowed up and not even the scum was left. This should be a formation, the last protection to guard the hall. Huh? Damn it! The moment Xiao Yang spoke, the power in the formation condensed and attacked him unexpectedly. A milky white petal fell down, just in front of Xiao Yang, and then let the fire dragon that filled the sky, the black wind bombarded with unparalleled power. Boom boom boom. In the sky, the violent spiritual power fluctuated wildly. However, when the fire dragon and the black wind dissipated, everyone's pupils shrank, because the milky white petals protecting Xiao Yang were not damaged. Slightest. Since everyone is almost gathered, then let's work together to break this formation. Fortune depends on strength. Wu Huan also looked at the number of strong people outside the main hall and said. Xiao Yang's palm trembled slightly. Even such a subtle attack made him feel an unbearable pain. With so many people present outside the formation, why was this formation only attacking himself? However, now is not the time for doubt. Xiao Yang's black eyes were burning. Reading www.ukanshu.com quietly looked at the powerful formation with fierce flames in the sky not far away. Immediately, his slender fingers shone with milky white rays of light, and he tapped in the air, and the murmured voice spread. Yueru, come with me. As soon as his voice fell, the huge and strange milky white petals on his body also brought about the purest wave at this moment, which instantly wrapped Yueru, and then the two roared out of the formation. The huge milky white light, with a shocking white light, cut through the sky at an extremely astonishing speed, and led Yueru to disappear in front of Wu Huan and the living dead outside the main hall. The petals of the milky white lotus are slowly rotating, and the petals of the petaled lotus are blooming slowly. The whole world seems to be gradually dimmed at this moment. That kind of fluctuation is astonishing. In Wu Huan's blood-red pupils, a tinge of unease flashed at this moment, and he felt a death-like fluctuation from the enchanting milky white lotus. And he could feel that Xiao Yang seemed to have found a solution to this powerful formation. Follow them. Wu Huan took the lead in turning into a meteor and heading towards the formation. Afterwards, Feng Yiqian and the others also looked at each other. Go? The living dead also followed slowly. A charming girl also followed. It's fun now. Afterwards, everyone outside the main hall flew towards the formation, because everyone knew that it was only one step away from the Emperor's great fortune. The flames and the black wind in the formation frantically gathered in its big mouth, and the surrounding air became distorted as a result. Damn it! Where did the Xiao Yang go? When Xiao Yang and Yueru were just discovered that something was wrong, Wu Huan followed, and he could be regarded as the third person to enter the formation, but it was strange that Wu Huan lost Xiao Yang's breath as soon as he entered the formation, as if Xiao Yang and the others did not enter the formation at all. A series of voices fell, and the huge team outside the main hall entered the formation one after another. Damn it! We can't get out. There's no way out. Those who had just entered the formation couldn't help but find the strangeness of the formation. Damn! Following Wu Huan, This kid has only one dead end. It's better that we didn't come in at that time. It's just. Voices of dissatisfaction continued to appear. Obviously, these powerhouses began to back down at this time. Everyone is in a mess, since everyone is here to find this so-called great fortune and treasure. We have now entered this strange formation, and we are already grasshoppers on the same boat. Too much quarrel is meaningless. Why don't we temporarily form an alliance and break the formation? Wu Huan also looked at these people smartly. Since the alliance is formed, someone must take the lead. Who will take the lead? The living dead also stood up at this moment and snorted coldly. Obviously, the living dead and Wu Huan are also the strength of the late Samsung Do Di. This living dead is obviously want to fight. Why don't you just let me do it? Wu Huan also smiled slowly. Then a terrifying aura came out. The late Samsung Do Di. Many people present looked at this appearance, and could not help but frown slightly, really strong. Just when the living dead just met and said something, suddenly from the sea of people, a trace of the same breath as the living dead disappeared in an instant, and then the living dead also closed their mouths unwillingly. Even his here. The living dead trembled slightly. For him, the living dead were extremely frightened. Since all of you are meaningless, then let me be the temporary leader of the alliance. Wu Huan also watched the momentum and took back his own breath. Let's go. Then he said to the crowd. Many of the people who entered the formation were also powerhouses in the late stage of the 3-star Do Di with the same strength, but they did not fight against this martial arts, because they all knew that this temporary fight was meaningless. Everyone in the formation looked at this scene extremely nervously, and they could all see that the huge fire dragon in the sky seemed to contain a strong murderous intent. Fire-killing palm. At this moment, the vindictive energy in Wu Huan's body was fully revolving, and the firelight and the black wind expanded by hundreds of meters in the ferocious mouth. In the next instant, his roar full of murderous intent suddenly resounded. Now that he has become the leader of the alliance, he must take the lead, and then he can only bear the brunt of Wu Huan to deal with this huge fire dragon. Boom! The sky inside the formation seemed to tremble for a moment at this moment, and then everyone behind Wu Huan saw 2 fire dragons and black wind dragons roaring out of Wu Huan's palm. The 2 giant dragons soared into the sky, intertwined with each other. The 2 dragons converged, the fire borrowed the wind, and the violent fighting spirit also expanded at an astonishing speed, extremely terrifying. People with discerning eyes know that this martial arts uses the palm as an attack and turns it into a dragon-shaped fighting spirit. On the other hand, it is staring at these people who have just formed an alliance, because the martial arts is also clear, and it is really difficult to let these things in front of you without any means. People are convinced. Such an offensive is basically not considered the strongest means of martial arts. Everyone stared at the pair of dragons with shocking eyes. They were carrying extremely powerful vindictiveness, and they charged straight at the monster Black Lotus in the sky, leaving a long tail of light behind them. The bewitching Black Lotus, the last lotus petal, also slowly bloomed at this time. The dark light, like the darkness that erodes the earth, quickly gathered in the center of the Black Lotus, and inside the lotus, it seemed that a black liquid was dripping down. The deep dark light suddenly became powerful at this time. Everyone could see that the monster Black Lotus trembled violently at this moment, and a black light beam with a size of 100 meters burst out silently from the Black Lotus. This black light beam doesn't seem to be too violent, it is like a black thunder that falls from the sky, swept across the sky, and then, under the gazes of many nervous eyes, with the fierce roaring wind and fire double dragon, right bumped together. Boom! A gigantic Do-Chi light wave of nearly 1,000 feet spread out from the place where they met, and the space within the entire formation seemed to tremble at this moment. Roar! The 2 dragons roared and charged with all their might, and waves of violent and incomparable fighting spirit pervaded crazily, trying to disperse the falling black thunder. But what was shocking was that no matter how the 2 dragons galloped, the beams are all motionless, like a pillar of optimism running through the heavens and the earth, and cannot be shaken. Wu Huan watched this scene, and the unease in his eyes became much stronger. Although the black beam didn't have any amazing momentum, it made him feel chills in his heart. In the distance, Feng Yi looked at the confrontation in the sky calmly, and then moved her fingers lightly, only to see the black lotus in the air smashed apart at this moment and then turned into a black liquid, blending into it. Into the black beam. Wind and thunder fingers. With Feng Yi's shot, the black lotus dissipated, and the surface of the black light beam seemed to have a huge black lotus light pattern emerging, and then the long-hidden figure was finally exposed at this time. A deep, dark light erupted from the beam, and the demon lotus, Yu reading also made a mournful whine at this time, and then countless people were a little horrified to see it, the two dragons of wind and fire. As the demon lotus with flaws roared away mercilessly, the demon lotus actually had cracks appearing under the attack of the two dragons. Wu Huan's pupils also suddenly tightened at this moment. Boom! An earth-shattering voice resounded, and the black beam of the demon lotus was penetrated by the wind and fire double dragon, and was actually pierced by the wind and fire double dragon. Wu Huan roared in horror. He also did not expect this seemingly inconspicuous Feng Yi to be so powerful, and then he stimulated the fighting qi in his body, forming a huge spirit outside his body. Power mask. Boom! The demon lotus exploded. The black beam of light, however, ignored it, rushed straight out, and finally shot on the Do Qi mask. The black light beam, in that scream, was ejected by Wu Huan's Do Qi mask, and then hit a mountain in the distance. When the earth shook, the mountain instantly vanished into ashes. The entire formation was completely silent at this time. Because they saw that when the demon lotus shattered and emitted a black beam of light, it disappeared completely, and not even the slightest bones were left behind. In that scene, it was as if he had been evaporated from this world. The violent vindictive fluctuations in the sky also quickly subsided at this time, and the previous kind of shocking battle seemed to disappear completely. Let's go! Wu Huan also strode forward. The formation also shattered at this moment, revealing the true face of the hall. A heavy ruler and a slender woman appeared in front of everyone. This video will end here.